Hello friends, welcome to Easy GST for You. I am your host Girish Kulkarni and I welcome you all to today's video tutorial on e-way bill. This is our fourth tutorial in the series of tutorials related to e-way bill. In the first three tutorials, we discussed various provisions of e-way bill, including the advantages, the basic concept of e-way bill, the exceptions from e-way bill, part A, part B, and various scenarios in which how the e-way bill will be issued. Also, we discussed exceptions to e-way bill, wherein the scenarios in which the e-way bill is not required to be drawn. In this particular tutorial, we are going to discuss various procedural aspects related to e-way bill. Now, firstly, we need to understand that GSTR 1, that is a return of outward supplies, can be prepared with the help of the earlier issued e-way bill. At the time of issuing the e-way bill or filling the form related to e-way bill online, when the form is completed, part A and part B is completed, at the end when you press submit, it gives you one pop-up if all the information required to compile these details to GSTR 1, if those are not filled, it will indicate to you and you need to complete those details. Those details may not be necessarily required for completion of e-way bill, but to compile all the information for GSTR 1, that will be maybe a crucial information. So with the help of issued e-way bills, you may compile the data for GSTR 1. So that is one important aspect. Secondly, rule number 138A to 138D, which are mostly related to the procedural parts, we will study that one by one. First of all, the documents or device, those are to be carried along with the transportation of goods. We all know that the tax invoice copy, which is to be issued before the movement starts or at the time of the movement start as per the section 31 of the CGST Act, needs to be accompanied along with the goods. Now, this e-way bill also needs to be accompanied along with the bill. Now the number, in my opinion, is sufficient. If the number is noted down, that number, if it is told to the officer who is stopping the vehicle maybe in between the transportation, then with the help of that number, the e-way bill may be tracked. All the details may be tracked. Now sometimes the movements are done by certain third parties to a different bill to ship to transaction, wherein a person orders another person to dispatch the goods to a third party. Therein the rates etc. are very commercial and confidential information. In that case, there is one option given wherein invoice can be generated online in form INV01 and the reference number of INV01 can be accompanied with the transportation. With the help of that number, the proper officer who is inspecting the vehicle may get the information related to the bill. So normally, in a normal scenario, a vehicle will be accompanied along with the e-way bill as well as the tax invoice. Now, what is the validity of e-way bill if it is issued? Now we understand that up to 100 kilometers, 1 day has been given as a validity. What does it mean? See, if the e-way bill is generated and the approximate distance which is inserted in part AB is more than 100, if it is below 100 kilometers, then the validity of e-way bill is 1 day. What happens for every part or full of next 100 kilometers? Means if it is 130 kilometers, it will be considered as 1 full day plus every additional 1 day for the part or the full 100 kilometers in addition to 100 kilometers. So for 130, it will be considered as 2 days. Now, how these days are calculated? That is an important question. So let's assume one example. Suppose an e-way bill is generated at 00.04 hours, that is 12:04 on March 14th. Then first day would end on the midnight of 15th 16th day. So 15th March midnight will be end of 1 day and second day will be ending on 12 midnight on 16th March. So a bill drawn on 14th March, first day will end on 15th March midnight, second day will end on 16th March midnight. So what happens if the bill is drawn on 11:58 p.m. of 14th March? So first day will end on 15th March midnight and second day will end on 16th March midnight. So calculation of one day is done in this particular manner. So this was the validity of e-way bill. What happens if the validity is completed, is over, and still the goods is in the transportation itself? One has to stop the vehicle 4 hours before the end of the timing, or 4 hours immediately after the end of the validity are given to extend the further timing for the remaining distance to be covered. So this is the another provision related to the validity. What happens if the goods are stopped by the proper officer? So with proper authority, if the squad of officers comes and stops the vehicle, what they may verify? They may stop the vehicle, they may verify whether the documents which are required to be carried along with the transportations are there with them, and the details which are entered in the document are correlating with the actual goods. That verification can be done. Now, very important point one has to note that if the vehicle in one transit is stopped once, then it cannot be stopped for the second time. So once it is stopped means the journey, in the next journey it cannot be stopped by the officer. Second point, once the vehicle is stopped, they have to complete the verification process within 30 minutes. So undue delays will be eliminated and a curtailment of wasting of time will be done in this manner. So within 30 minutes the vehicle needs to be released. What happens if that is not done? The person who is transporting the vehicle has or the e-way bill generator has given one EWB04 form wherein he can raise a query and intimate to the department that my vehicle was stopped for more than half an hour and it was not released for within 30 minutes. So that is another mechanism which is given to reduce the harassment. In some of the cases there may be some harassment. To curtail those scenarios, this provision is inserted. So this was another aspect. What happens if the e-way bill is not accompanied along with the transportation? We all know that there are heavy penalties. The goods may also be subject to confiscation, detention, seizure, etc. if these provisions are not followed. So these are to be followed in a proper manner. Cancellation of e-way bill. Please note that once the e-way bill is generated, it can be cancelled within the period of 24 hours from its generation. So whatever time is printed on the e-way bill, from that within 24 hours it can be cancelled. The cancellation may be on account of various reasons, like there is error in the preparation of the e-way bill, or the material could not be dispatched. Though e-way bill was generated, material order got cancelled immediately and I did not dispatch only. So in that manner it can be cancelled. But if a e-way bill is generated, the material is moved and it is stopped and verified, then it cannot be cancelled. Even if it is within 24 hours, it cannot be cancelled in that particular scenario. Also, there are radio frequency devices which may be coming in the near future, wherein also there is a slight possibility that the distance and the timing which are prescribed in the law are considering the worst possible scenarios. So those are in excess only. So what may happen is that from point A to point B, the distance is 40 kilometers and the time limit is given for 1 day. So for some grey market transactions, the same e-way bill may be used for 2-3 times for making multiple trips under same e-way bill for grey market transactions. But to curtail that, the government may ask certain class of transporters or certain class of assessees to put some radio frequency devices embedded on their cars or transportation vehicles, which will be linked to your e-way bill, and the data will be transmitted immediately as the vehicle will move from place A to place B on a live basis. So these are the developments which are going to happen in the near future, we may say. So we discussed this invoice reference number as well, in fact, inspection by authorities. So these were the provisions related to the procedural part of e-way bill. Thank you so much for your patient listening and watching this video. For regular updates, please subscribe to our channel EasyGS.